Hello everybody, my name is Ryan McKinnon and I'm the Percussion Curriculum Specialist here at Bandology. And today, as part of the Get to Know the Percussion section video series, we're going to be talking about the castanets. Okay, so the first thing to go about in castanet playing is that there's multiple different types of them. Okay, so I have a couple different sets here, but there is one that I do not have that you may come into contact with as well. So as a percussionist, you should know that there are 3 different types of castanets. One of them is like this, okay? So it's a platform with 2 castanets attached to it. And in order for them to open up and have enough space so that you can press down on them, is you're going to have 2 tightening rods. They might not be rods that every castanet might be different, but you're going to have 2 tightening rods. When you tighten it, it's going to open up the castanet more. If you loosen it, it's going to close them down more. So you want to have enough space in this castanet that when you go to hit it, you're not using too much excessive force to put it down, but also you want to have enough space in there that it's at least making some sort of a sound when you do hit it. Okay? So you're going to put this on a flat surface. Okay, I have currently here just a music stand with a towel on it. As a percussionist, something good to know is that you always want to have some form of a towel around. You typically want it to be black. I know this one's a pink one, but that's okay. So that when you use music stands as your sort of table or something to hold stuff, when you put stuff down or when you're playing on the stand isn't, creating a resonating sound. That's going to be audible to whoever you're playing for. Okay, so you're going to put this on the platform. Okay, now when you're playing, I'm not tight at all. I'm not tight. I'm very loose. This is kind of the stroke that I'm doing. Stuff like that. Okay? And when I hit these things, okay, there's no force, there's no oomph going in. It's just very loose. And I'm playing whatever I can. Okay? Okay, now the other type of castanets that I do not have here is a lot like this one, except these will not be attached to a platform. They'll just be like handhelds. Okay, and you're going to end up playing them kind of like this. I do not have those, and I do not play a whole lot like that. Just for your information, that if you ever come into contact with those, that's what they are. Okay, now the last and most common type of castanet that you're going to end up playing, they're called paddle castanets. Okay, so they're just castanets attached to a paddle. Alright, now you hold them. How you hold them is the exact same way as drumsticks. You just hold them right in the middle. Okay, it's the same sort of technique with your fingers wrapped around so that you can play like this. Okay, and when you're playing these, you're going to play on your knee. So you always want to have some form of a stool that you can put your knee up on. Now, when you're playing on your knee, you never want the stool to be higher, to bring your knee to a higher than 90-degree angle. Okay, you never want your knee to be up here or like here. You always want to have some form of a down slant, just for range of motion. Okay? Now when you're playing these, it's exactly like drum strokes, just regular strokes on the drums. Okay? Something like that. Really loose, we're not tight at all. Okay, we're just playing. Okay, throwing them away. Alright? So, in order to play quietly on the castanets, how you play quietly with paddle castanets is you just move up your position where you're holding and you put your finger over top of the paddle. Okay? Over top of the castanet. And then you play on your knee, it's the same idea. Okay, now your range of motion is going to be a lot smaller here, obviously, because you're playing quietly. You don't want to be playing up there because that doesn't make sense. Okay, now the thing you have to figure out when you're doing that is occasionally you might get empty strokes. Okay, so with no sound. So you have to figure out how much pressure do I have to apply to the top and how much swing do I need to get onto my knee to still get a sound so that I'm actually playing. You don't want this. That's something that you don't want, okay? Cool. Now if we're playing loud, obviously it's the exact opposite. So you take your finger away, your range of motion goes way up. Okay? That's the idea. That's really all there is to play loud. In doing rolls. Now, rolls are really hard on the castanets. Okay? They're hard to get used to, and they're just hard to get an ear for when you're playing them at the start. So how you do this is it's the exact same holding. You hold them in the exact same spot. Now how I do them is I kind of instigate the roll with a forearm stroke. So I'm not using my wrist in the initial stroke, and then after I get down there, I'm playing basically as fast as I can with only my wrist. It's not fingers, only your wrist. Okay, you might tighten up a bit at the beginning when you're starting to do this, and that's okay, just because you're trying to figure it out. But try the more you practice, try to loosen up that stroke. Okay, so you're going to initiate it with a forearm stroke, play as fast as you can with your wrist, and you probably will not be able to do it for very long. And that's okay, because typically castanet rolls are written in fairly short rhythm sections. Okay? Now, for Black Swamp castanets, which is what I have, they're different. Okay? For Black Swamp castanets, the way they've made them is you have to flip them. So this is like, I would hold them regularly like this, right? But if I'm doing a roll, I have to flip them. So now I'm holding them upside down almost. Okay? Now, how a roll works on the castanet is when you go to hit it, it has an initial clamp at the beginning, and then on your upstroke, when you come up, it clamps again. So it's like a double bounce roll every time you do a stroke. Okay? So here is what they should be kind of sounding like. Okay? Okay, you can hear definitely multiple bounces going on in there. And you want to make sure that they're as consistent as possible. Okay, when you're playing, if you're playing multiple in a row, you want to make sure that they all sound generally the same. Okay, so that's making consistency between both your hands and understanding how much pressure to put in here, how much pressure to put in here, and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so that's about it for technique on castanet playing. Now I'm going to play you an excerpt.
Thanks for joining us. If you like what you heard, you can learn more about our organization at bandology.ca, which features information about music education, advocacy and research, and our Play a Gig and Bandcamp programs. Follow us on social media for more videos, performance, and interviews on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.